Can you just to start,
Yeah.
give me your name, your job title, and what seat number on this flight you're sitting in?
Right. So my name is Nubi K. That's Nubi. My job title is I lead startups programs at Paystack, and I'm on 25C.
Nice. So I've seen you all week in Nairobi. I've only seen you in Paystack t-shirts. Do you own any other clothing?
Yeah, I do. I guess it was like we're one of the sponsors for the conference. So it was more like trying to stay on brand,
When am I gonna get a t-shirt? That sounds.
When we
That's
launch,
not.
when we launch, I think there are plans to like launch a swag store.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to buy one. I don't get one for free.
We'll see about that.
Okay, so the first question I want to ask you is, obviously, you were doing Africa-focused investing while you were with Stripe, and then you decided to leave Stripe to go to Paystack. I mean, interesting, right? What was your thought process behind that? Like, how did that happen? And maybe this is an obvious question, but what was it about Paystack in particular that made you say I'm going to leave, a company that everyone else would die to work for to go work for another company that everyone else would die to work for?
Well, I guess first thing is that Paystack is now part of Stripe,
Right.
So I think I even have it better, because if you're Stripe, you're working for Stripe. If you're Paystack, you're working for Paystack and Stripe.
Yeah.
So it's like a price of 2 for 1. But I think the motivation was pretty much I'd been at Stripe for 5 years at the point in time, and it was more like from a personal career point of view, I was learning and developing myself to actually come eventually work in Africa.
Mhm.
And I mean, how Stripe was actually going to get to Africa wasn't known. If we're going to expand, actually having Stripe actually coming to Africa now. But after the acquisition, it was more we're now actually going to go into Africa as Stripe. What better way but to join the folks who are actually building on the continent? And so for me, it was more again, fulfillment, if you will. Yes, I could be working at Stripe, but I'm African. I've tried building a startup in Africa. I know how painful it is, how difficult it is. So why not just go where I can be most leveraged? And I think Stripe was actually supportive of that as well. It was more again, interests plus business needs, and was aligned, and made a jump.
So when you were in Stripe, obviously you were facing a lot of European startups, and now you're working with a lot of African startups.
Right.
Are there? I mean, the products are relatively similar, right? Obviously, different markets, but
right.
Are there any sort of unique or interesting either similarities or differences in terms of the way in which you're interfacing with other startups or prospective customers here versus in
Europe,
when you were in Europe?
Yeah. I think there are similarities when it comes to the persons, the entrepreneur. So a founder in Europe and a founder in Africa, I mean, they are pretty much driven by the same things, wanting to solve problems, wanting to actually go at difficult things and try to make a venture out of it. So you see that same entrepreneurial spirit kind of translate between both cultures and both regions. But I think what differs is then perhaps the intensity. It's a European founder is okay, I'm going to leverage all of this infrastructure, all of this, the government support and all this kind of all this that will help me and just again make me go faster at this. While the African entrepreneur is I'm gonna do this despite all the obstacles thrown in my way. Again, whether it's infrastructure, it's broadband internet and just having the power and things. So I think it's just that just intensity and resilience, and despite all of this and things, I'm gonna actually try to make something out of this. And so I think that's the big difference when it comes to the say an African founder and say a European founder. But again, like I said at the start, the entrepreneurial spirit, the drive to still to fix problems and create something, I think it's kind of similar and familiar between both groups.
Yeah. And in your role with Paystack and just in the context of all of the startups that you're dealing with and working with, and also HoaQ obviously as well, you're speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs in Nigeria and beyond. Is there anything like you're thinking a lot about, or particularly interested in, or maybe it's a recurring theme and something that we ought to discuss? Like what's top of mind for you right now?
To be honest, I think I'm getting to a place where we have like a lot, starting to see a lot of Me Too's.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you can, I mean, yes, a founder has gone ahead and validated the opportunity and market, and like, okay, yes, I can do better, or I can do something like a little bit like incrementally better. I will see more and more of that. I mean, whether it's fintech to health tech and agri-tech.
And do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing, but also I think when it's getting too much, I'm like, okay, I'm very sure there are other problems we could solve.
Yeah.
So what is top of mind for me is like, who are those who are just, again, going outside of the popular trends and, I mean, where funding is going, and just trying to, again, chart their own course and allow for, again, new Me Too's to actually, again, come about. So I think that's top of mind for me. I mean, again, like, I mean, yes, there's room for more than one player in any given space, but I think what excites me is when I see people are saying, okay, I want to just go do this thing that's not fintech, that is not, or probably that's fintech, but perhaps a different vertical that everybody's actually going after. I think that for me is top of mind, yeah.
And so at HoaQ, you obviously have had some success over the past couple of years in crowding in some capital from the diaspora to invest in Nigerian startups, and then on the back of that, you just raised a fund.
We're trying to.
Oh, can we not say?
No, we're trying to. We're raising a fund.
Yeah. So just tell me about that. Like, what's happening on the sort of investor side? Interest in like diaspora members investing, and as you go out to LPs and speak to them about the opportunity, like what's happening on that front?
Yeah. So just for context, like HoaQ is a community like driven fund, if you will. So it's like people like me who are operators in the diaspora, mostly in the diaspora, but now increasingly on the continent, they're saying, oh, this is something that I've seen to be a proven asset class, if you will. So if I put like just a bit of money in it, maybe I get some returns, but if I don't, at least I can like play a role in the journey of a founder trying to do something amazing. And so I think the journey so far has been very interesting. Like, it started very like experimental, and it's gone from just people that we know to, again, just friends of friends, and then the circles keep getting bigger. And now at the point is like we see a lot of phenomenal founders that are like, give them just a little boost and some time, and they work like business amazing. And so it's like, how can we again do that at scale? And so it is exciting. And when we speak to LPs and we actually show what we've done in the last 18 months, people are quite surprised, and they're like, wow. But I think, again, it just boils down to, again, community. Like, again, as individuals, these things are harder to do, but again, creating a convergence of this kind of people, I mean, it's surprising, like how I mean, just the power of community, and beyond the check, like, just, again, the network, the talent, the skill set, being able to leverage all of that within a community, I mean, goes a long way.
Yeah. So I'm also raising a pre-seed fund. Do you have any advice for me about either raising or getting deal flow really early, or making investment decisions? Like, what have you learned over the years that you can tell somebody like me who's just getting started?
So from the raising side, I think it's just more of, again, like articulating what you're trying to do as clearly as possible, and being really targeted at the kind of LPs that align with what you're trying to do as well. Like, I mean, we've had LPs that, I mean, just without seeing even a deck, we're like, okay, I know HoaQ.
I don't even have a deck. I don't even have a deck.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Like, just knowing the story, like, I mean, and that essence, like, resonating. Like, okay, yes, I'll be an LP. But again, for those who don't, but I mean, being able to just articulate what you're doing, and I think that goes a long way. From the deal flow side of things, I think it's just, again, like I said, leveraging network. I mean, I know you know people. You're the media, so
I know you, and you're gonna send me deals, right?
Definitely. I mean, one of our principles is like we go further together, you know. So we don't like to go in like, I mean, we have like a public, semi-public Notion document of all the folks we speak to, whether we invest or not. Just again, give that exposure to other, like, again, funds and investors. And so it's like, yes, from a deal flow point of view, just like just networking, talking to people. I think they are looking at also like really like weird places that you wouldn't go to for deals, like developer communities, for example. Like we're seeing a new trend of like just engineer only like founding teams with like 2 CTOs pretty much building a business. So going to like those places that just again engage in those building things, but also again keeping out an eye for operators that are becoming founders as well. Because I think we're getting to a place where a lot of startups are getting to a point of maturity where people are leaving to go start their own thing. So like keep an eye out for those more matured late stage startups and say, okay, who's doing something, and if you did something, like let me know. And so yeah, I think those are some places to look out for deal flow.
Nice. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, the Paystack programs.
Go for it.
That pays the bills. So I've got a plug, So
doesn't pay my bills.
but I think just from like I said, like from a enabling like founders and all, like that's the open of the startup program, and that's why again when you ask like why leave Stripe to join Paystack, like again founders need a lot of support, and so it's anything that again would make that journey a little more like comfortable, and whether it's again from a broken services, but even like things like information that you gather at the flip and insight that you have, I'm able to get to the founders. I think that's what the program is about. So yeah, I'm just gonna plug startup program at startups@paystack.com, Nubi at paystack.com. Give me a holler and let's build amazing. Yeah.
Nubi, Nubi.
Nubi at paystack.com. Yeah.
Thank you.